Hello, my friends. Welcome to another Lispy episode coming to you live. Not really live, this is recorded, but from Austin in the middle of quarantine. I'm on day 70 something, I think. We're on day 68 of quarantine. Been reading a lot, and one of the things that I've been doing to support my students and my teachers and my school community through this pandemic, while being a virtual librarian, is doing First Chapter Fridays and Mac and Via Mondays. So I'm gonna start with Mac and Via Mondays. Mac and Via Mondays are where I go through Mac and Via and I find a book that I think my students will like, and I record how to get to it, as well as a quick book talk on what that book is about, why I think they'll like it, how they can access it, and so forth. First Chapter Fridays are where, with the permission from the publisher, I read the first chapter of a book that I think they will enjoy. And the first Chapter Friday that I did, I recorded with permission from Scholastic. It was really easy to find their read aloud kind of rules and guidelines right now. And that's why I chose this book. And that's why I chose a lot of Scholastic books to read, because it was really easy to find their rules. There's really no other reason. You just email, you read it, you post it where students have to get to it with a password. You say that it's with permission from Scholastic, and then you email them and tell them that this is what you read and when you read it. And then you have to take it down by the end of, I think, the school year. So the first book for First Chapter Friday that I read the first chapter of is one of my all-time favorites. And this book is my original copy of this book that my mom bought for me when I was in 4th grade at a book fair. And she handed the book to me and told me, "Steph, I think you're going to like this." And I was like, nah. Like, it took me truly about another school year to actually read the book. And that started what is now. Like, this book and this series, I can truly say, is why I'm a librarian. I've always loved to read, but I think this book and this series is really what made me a true reader, because this book and this series is the first series that I would ever sit outside a bookstore for and wait for the midnight release. And this series is the first movie series that I was truly excited about, because a book that I loved and a series that I loved was being made into a movie. And this had never happened before. And librarians, if you don't know what series I'm talking about by now, I'm not talking about Twilight. I'm talking about something more important than that. And this series is truly near and dear to my heart. I have 2 tattoos from this book series. I'm not going to tell you what they are because that gives it away. I have so many references to this series in my house, on my phone, just everywhere. And librarians everywhere will tell you the power of this series. And now I'm finally going to get to it. My first book that I read for First Chapter Friday this year is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. This, like you can tell, this is a worn and loved copy of this book. It's fallen apart. It is very, very special, very old. This is one of the, you know how Scholastic releases the paperback of a the hardcover of a back when they're trying to promote a series. Well, this is one of those. So when Scholastic was selling Stepsister at the summer reading summits last summer, I got Stepsister, and that year was when they were putting out the first Harry Potter. So this is one of the first Harry Potters that was released whenever it came out, forever ago, when I was in 4th grade, which was very, 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 very long time ago. And I loved it. So when I reread it, it got me to reread the series. And I don't know why or how, but I'm thankful that it happened, where Austin Public Library had many, 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 many copies of the ebook and the audiobook to listen to or to read. And so I got to check out an ebook with no hold on it and reread the series on my iPad instead of having to put my poor little falling apart book through some extra loving. But it was so much fun to reread. So when I was in college, I would reread the Potter series every summer, like clockwork. Every summer I was rereading it. So I can actually say I've reread the series at least 5, 6, 7 times, and I've never gotten tired of it. And I truly love the series. But as I've gotten older and as I've taught, like, you know, our summers are busy and we're like, I don't have time for that. So I finally was like, no, I'm going to reread this series because I love it. And I meant like reread the first book, because just to reread the beginning of a series that is so near and dear to me was fun. Like, I remember reading it as a kid, and I remember reading it in college and rereading it. And I know I've talked to friends about it, and as librarians, we always talk about Potter, but to reread Potter as an adult, and to think about the trauma that he may have been through and his friends, and just, I love Ron, and just see them as babies, and to remember what they were like, and especially when he goes with Hagrid to Diagon Alley for the first time, and read the scene where Uncle Vernon is like trying to close all the mailbox so that the mail can't come through, and then takes him to that island where the mail can't come, and Hagrid comes and gets him. Like, to reread all that, like, yes, it's one thing to watch the movie over and over and over because we know what's on every weekend right now, but to reread that was so special and so much fun. And then to reread the first chapter for my students. Now, if you don't know this, the first chapter, I'm gonna carefully open this. The first chapter is 18 pages. So I only read the first 9 pages because it's really long, and I forgot how long the first chapter is, because it introduces you to Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia, and how they're normal, and how, like, in the beginning all these weird things are happening, and Uncle Vernon's just super annoyed. And then you see Dumbledore and McGonagall and Hagrid when they drop Harry off, and it was almost like coming home. Like, when Harry gets dropped off at his aunt's house, like, this is going to be terrible, right? Like, how this ends for him, and it sucks because he's going to have to live in a closet. But it was like literally the feeling of coming home and welcoming myself to a place where I feel safe, into a time in quarantine and in this pandemic when maybe we don't feel safe. And I swear reading this was literally a comfort. Like, it was, I don't know how else to say it. It was like coming home, and it was really, really cool to read now as an adult. So I'm definitely going to keep rereading. My first year as a librarian, I was doing inventory in my library, my very first library. And I remember doing inventory, and I listened to the whole series on Audible. So I might keep doing that. That it was really special and really fun to reread it. So if you haven't reread Potter, or if you haven't read Potter, do it. Because the first book, I mean, it's not long. It's, oh my goodness, my book is truly falling apart, you guys. It is 300 and, hold on, almost there. 309 pages. So yes, it is a little long, a little bit, but it's worth it because it's Potter. And if you don't love Potter, we can't be friends. That's it. Like, if you don't love Potter, I don't know how you can love literature, because Potter is amazing. Like, and I'm not just talking about Harry Potter. I mean the entire series and all of the characters and the wonder and this universe that our queen made for us, and just, it was so good to reread, and it was wonderful. So I hope you give it another chance and reread something. If you're not going to reread Potter, I hope you reread something that gives you the feeling of coming home.